"Hey, dummy. If you can solve this, I'll give you $2 million. How about that?" That's what Mr. Harwood, the department head who got promoted from a branch office, said. It was Mr. Harwood's welcome party that day. My colleagues were making a fuss, wondering what kind of punishment game this was. From the first time I met Mr. Harwood, he probably didn't like me because I might have come across as unfriendly. I thought I responded with a normal smile, but I'm just not good at communication. My name's Ethan Thompson. I'm 24 years old, in my third year at the company. When I was 21, I got a job at a small company in a sleepy town. The company has a peaceful atmosphere, and the CEO, Mr. Mitchell, seems like a very kind person. I remember feeling relieved when I first met CEO, Mr. Mitchell. The company's located about an hour-and-a-half drive from the central city. I have a girlfriend named Olivia. We've promised to get married, but we've decided to save up a little more money first. That said, I actually had a lot of savings, you know. I hadn't told Olivia about that yet. Let me take a moment to look back on my upbringing. I was born to fairly elite parents. Both my dad and mom worked for big companies, but they always came home late, and my dad was often sent overseas. My grandma lived behind our house. That's why I was a grandma's boy from a young age. Grandma used to drop me off and pick me up from daycare. When I entered elementary school, my dad said, "Ethan, from now on, you gotta be able to speak at least French or another second language, and make sure you build up your academic skills," he said. So, I had busy days attending piano classes and tutoring schools. But I was pretty good at studying, if I do say so myself. When I was in daycare, I could read all the picture books by myself. So, I always got perfect scores on tests at school, and people kinda looked at me funny. When I was in daycare, Grandma said the daycare workers suggested having my IQ checked, and apparently, my IQ was pretty high. But at school, everyone was always talking about video games. I was busy with tutoring school, so I couldn't join in on their conversations and couldn't make any friends at all. My classmates coldly dismissed me, saying I always got perfect scores because I only went to tutoring school, and they felt sorry for me being a bookworm. Going to school felt like I was just there to eat lunch, and every day was really boring. I sometimes wanted to play normally, but I gave up on that. However, when I got a computer from my dad in 4th grade, I enjoyed chatting on message boards. And even when I became a middle school student, those days didn't change. I didn't join any clubs because I had no friends. Mom always came home late, so I always had dinner at Grandma's house. Grandma's food was really delicious. "Ethan, eat a lot, okay?" "Yo, Grandma. Thanks always." I ate like that, munching away. I was average at pay and healthy. More than that, learning about various things in the world on the computer became my hobby. I'm being sent overseas again. Get along with Grandma, my dad said. Mom let out a big sigh. Looking back now, Mom must have been lonely. During my 2nd year of middle school, my parents got divorced. Grandma told me, "Ethan, your mother apparently had someone else she loved. It can't be helped." Hearing those words from Grandma, I was stunned to realize that I wasn't loved by my mother. And I felt lonely, too. Mother left the house, and later, an unknown woman moved in. Dad remarried a young woman. Around that time, I felt like I had no place at home, so I decided to live at Grandma's house with my computer. Grandma seemed to own a lot of land in the countryside and was doing real estate work by herself. I helped a little with that work, too. Mainly with accounting, but I quickly understood accounting by reading books. "Ethan, thank you always. You're a real help," Grandma would say, expressing her gratitude to me. Dad had a younger brother living in UK. Sometimes, that uncle would call Grandma, seeming to worry about how she was doing. I went on to a regular public high school without any problems with my grades. Grandma would say, "Ethan, you're really good at studying, aren't you?" she said to me. By then, I had quit tutoring school and was enjoying playing games on the computer and having conversations in French. One day in my 2nd year of high school, when I came home from school, I found my grandma unconscious on the kitchen floor. "Grandma, Grandma." Even when I called out to her like that, there was no response from Grandma. I immediately called an ambulance, and Grandma was taken to the hospital. I accompanied her to the hospital, too. I waited anxiously in front of the emergency room, breaking out in a cold sweat. However, the words the doctor told me when he came out of a treatment room were cruel. Yes, Grandma had suddenly passed away. I couldn't accept the reality. After that, a small farewell ceremony was held with my father, stepmother, uncle, who had returned to the hometown, and Aunt Emily, uncle's wife. Even then, I just sat there blankly with an expressionless face. Grandma apparently had heart disease. After seeing off Grandma, who had become even smaller, I sat alone in Grandma's house. At that time, Uncle asked me, "Ethan, would you like to come to the UK, Ethan?" I just said that, unable to even form words. While Uncle was cleaning up Grandma's room, he found a will from Grandma. It seemed that Grandma had been hiding her illness from me. She must have been in pain, but she always pretended to be cheerful and energetic. In Grandma's will, it stated that all the real estate would be sold, and a considerable amount of cash would be passed to me. Some time later, when I was alone in the house without Grandma and finally realized that Grandma was truly never coming back, I wept alone. After that, I skipped school for almost a month and cried continuously. I couldn't sleep or eat. As expected, my father worried about me, and his wife, who had become my stepmother, started bringing me meals every day. I managed to eat little by little and went to school while staggering. Dad recommended university, but I was fed up with school. Nothing was fun anymore. But then, I remembered Uncle's words. Since I was alone anyway, going abroad might be good. Uncle didn't have any children. Before I became a third-year high school student, during spring break, I got another call from Uncle. "Ethan, Grandma told me you're very good at studying. What are you going to do about university?" "Uncle, I actually hate school, so I don't really want to go to university. Why don't you come to London on a whim? University there might be fun, you know." That might be true. I do like to see the Kensington Palace and historical places, after all. I took the entrance exam for a university in UK, and I passed. After graduating from high school, I said goodbye to my father and set off for London. Emotionally, I felt I had reached my limit staying in Grandma's house where she would never return. I stayed with Uncle and Aunt Emily for a while and then moved into a university dormitory. During my first summer vacation, at the age of 18, I was taken by Uncle to briefly return to America, and I inherited Grandma's estate. After that, although it was a bit sad, I had Grandma's house, where no one lived anymore, demolished, and the land was turned into a parking lot, becoming my passive income. For me, life at university in UK was more enjoyable than I had imagined. There were people from various countries, and the dormitory was very comfortable and clean. It was about an hour to a place where my uncle lived. During the winter vacation, I briefly returned to America again and got a driver's license. After that, Aunt Emily showed me around the streets of London, and I was excited by the very stylish clothes and accessories. In my second year of university, one day, an American girl named Olivia called out to me in the Great Hall. "Found American," Olivia said as she sat down next to me. She was my classmate. "I'm Olivia. And you are?" "I'm Ethan Thompson." We enjoyed a little conversation like that. After that, Olivia and I often talked and gradually became close. "You know, my father is the CEO of a foreign-owned company. That's why I was always studying. But life here is the best, isn't it?" "I see. My father was also strict about studying." "That's true. The dormitory is easy to use and really nice. I apparently had a high IQ, and I'm a member of a certain organization." I heard I have a high IQ, too. I didn't really think much of it, but I do remember school being boring all the time." "I see. So, there are meetings of that organization sometimes. There are people of various ages, and it's really fun. If you'd like, why don't you come with me, Ethan?" Olivia invited me like that, and I also became a member. When I went to the meeting, there were really mathematical geniuses, CEOs of large companies, and it was overflowing with conversations among people of all ages, which was fun. Even I, who was not good at communication, could speak fluently and make jokes as long as it was Olivia. It felt comfortable. After that, Olivia returned to America and lived in the city. but I said goodbye to my uncle and aunt and didn't really feel like meeting my father and stepmother, so I just gave them a call. And at the age of 21, Olivia got a job at a small company in the sleepy town. She rented an apartment, bought a car, and started commuting. I graduated from university in London at the top of my class. During the interview, Mr. Mitchell, the company CEO, asked, "What brought you to come to a job interview for our company, despite having such an impressive background?" "I actually like the countryside. I want to live a relaxed life. Plus, I'm not very good at communication, so I don't really like sales or large companies." Hearing that, the calm-looking Mr. Mitchell accepted me with a smile. I asked Mr. Mitchell to tell the employees about my background, and I was organizing documents and doing miscellaneous tasks in the General Affairs Department. Mr. Mitchell's wife was also a calm person, and the company had a homely feel. So, it was a very comfortable place for me. I kept in touch with Olivia every day, and we occasionally met on holidays to continue our relationship. Olivia said she was training at a rather large company that her father had introduced her to. It was an hour-and-a-half drive to the central city. On holidays, I would go see Olivia, and as members of the organization we joined in London, Olivia and I would go to meetings and enjoy movies together in the homeland. A year flew by, and a new employee named Eric, a college graduate, joined the company. Eric said that the company was near his family home. When I talked to Eric, we were the same age, so from then on, Eric thought I was a high school graduate, but we quickly became close in the General Affairs Department. Eric looked up to me and would ask, "Ethan, could you please explain this part of the document to me?" He likely called me. Since the company had a homely feel, we called each other by our first names. Mr. Mitchell also called us by our first names. The department head and section chief were also calm people. I really thought this town was nice. However, the department head's health deteriorated, and he resigned. A new department head was transferred from a branch office. "I'm Harwood, promoted from the branch office. I graduated from Harvard, by the way. Nice to meet you all," was his kind of introduction. I thought, does he really need to mention his university at the introduction? I had a feeling that this Mr. Harwood must be an academic elitist. From then on, the once peaceful office started to become tense due to Mr. Harwood's drastic mood swings. "Since Eric talked to me like a friend," Mr. Harwood said, "Aren't Eric and Ethan the same age? That means Ethan is a high school graduate. There's a high school graduate here. That's laughable." As expected, Mr. Harwood looked down on me like that. I thought, it's not even that big of a company. Mr. Harwood was very high-handed, just because he was a department head in his 30s. From then on, I was treated as incompetent by Mr. Harwood. "Hey, incompetent high school graduate. Make copies of this. When you're done, organize these documents." He would slam a thick stack of papers on my desk. I didn't mind organizing documents. I was used to the keyboard, so it didn't take me that long. One day, Eric invited me to a bar. "Hey, Ethan, isn't that new department head, Mr. Harwood, kind of sarcastic?" Eric: "Yeah, he seems to boast about being a Harvard graduate." "Well, I don't really have any desire to get promoted, so it's fine, but..." "Huh? Really? But if you get promoted, your salary will increase, right?" "Well, that's true, but I'm not good at being in charge of people." "I see. How is it? This restaurant is nice, right? Even in this town, there are places like this. I used to come here often with my dad." "Yeah, it's a nice place. The food is delicious, too. But Ethan, you're from New York City, right? I have never been there too. Then, how about we go play next time? If you don't mind my car. I'm not much of a drinker, so I'm fine with non-alcoholic drinks, you know." "Really?" "Definitely." We made that promise and went out on Saturday with Eric. I told Olivia that I had plans with a colleague. While walking around the central city and going for drinks, Eric's eyes sparkled at the sight of cute girls. Hey, isn't that girl super cute? Let's try talking to her." "You go ahead. I have a girlfriend. I don't have the courage to go alone." "Wait, you have a girlfriend?" I'm shocked. "If you want, I can ask my girlfriend to introduce you to someone." "Yes, please introduce me," Eric said with a laugh. Later, Olivia and her colleague ended up meeting Eric. It seemed like the two of them got along well and started dating. Olivia's colleague apparently liked this sleepy town, so from then on, Eric's girlfriend would come to see him, and they seemed to enjoy their weekends. I would go see Olivia and listen to her talk about work and other things. And my company entered a busy period for a while. "Hey, incompetent, file these documents again." He would say that to me and hand me a lot of papers. "You're incompetent, but you seem to be good with computers." Mr. Harwood laughed, saying, "Eric, worried about me," said in a small voice. "Ethan, are you okay? I can help you." "Thank you. I'm fine." "Eric, just focus on your own work." I told him that. Around that time when I was 24, I got a message from Olivia. "Can we meet this Sunday? I want you to meet my father if possible." "Huh? Why?" "Ethan, you're really dense." I was taken aback by Olivia's voice. So, I decided to ask Olivia out on Saturday. I planned to stay overnight in the city, made a reservation at a fancy restaurant, and bought a ring. Olivia showed up with her long hair down, wearing a very cute dress. My heart raced again. What a lovely restaurant. I missed American food when I was abroad. The night view is beautiful too. Olivia showed me her cute smile. We toasted with wine and had a leisurely meal together. We had all sorts of lively conversations there, too. Actually, my mother isn't my real mother. They got divorced when I was little. I was taken in by my father, but... What? Really? Then you're the same as me. Olivia's already round eyes widened even more. I told her about how I was a grandma's boy, how my parents were always busy, and how my current mother is very young. Olivia was very surprised. Then, when I told her that I had no friends at school in America because my grades were exceptionally high, she said, "That's the same as me. That's why I had so much fun in London." "I see. I thought there was no way because you're so cheerful, Olivia." "Yeah, because my house was big and I was good at studying. I was kind of envied and bullied." "I totally understand that. But I couldn't talk to my father or mother about it. I was quite lonely." "Right. I had my grandma, but she passed away when I was in high school. At that time, my uncle, my father's younger brother, who lives in London, told me about university in UK. I didn't feel like I belonged at home after my new mother came. It seems like we're quite similar." While having such conversations, we finished our meal, and I gathered my courage. "It might be too early now, but I want to be with you forever, Olivia. Please accept this." I said that and presented a small box with a ring. Olivia. She accepted the small box with tears in her eyes. She was surprised by the large diamond, and Olivia's tears flowed down her cheeks. "Ethan, I'm the one who should be saying that. I am happy." I gently put the ring on Olivia, who said that. I felt like I was about to cry too, but I held it back. Olivia smiled beautifully, with tears streaming down her face. After that, we decided to save up some money before getting married. Olivia was an only child, so she was entrusted with the position of the next CEO by her father, which she said was a lot of pressure. The next day, after staying overnight, I headed to Olivia's house with her. When I greeted Olivia's father, he already knew about my educational background, and her parents warmly welcomed me. There was also a home helper at Olivia's house, and I enjoyed a wonderful meal before leaving. After that, a new week with Mr. Harwood began again. The busy period was about to settle down. "Hey, incompetent. It's busy today. Do the cleaning too." "Yes, Mr. Harwood." "Understood." I said that and started mopping the floor. Mr. Mitchell was glaring a bit at Mr. Harwood, but I smiled at Mr. Mitchell, calmly finished cleaning, and continued typing away on the computer, organizing documents. After the busy period ended, Mr. Mitchell told everyone, "Good job during the busy period." Things were so hectic that we ended up delaying Mr. Harwood's welcome party. "Tomorrow, we'll have the welcome party at a reserved restaurant. Everyone, please relax, celebrate, and enjoy yourselves," he said. Mr. Harwood had a smile on his face that I'd never seen before, and he was in high spirits. The next day, everyone finished work on time and gathered at the restaurant. "Thank you all for gathering here today. Mr. Harwood has worked very hard at the branch office and has come to our headquarters. Today, Please enjoy yourselves with Mr. Harwood at the center." Mr. Mitchell gave a speech. The employees and office staff took turns going to talk to Mr. Harwood. The room was lined with Western cuisine. Eric and I were delighted with the food and had a fun conversation. At that moment, Mr. Harwood made a speech. "Thank you all for being here for me today. Please relax and enjoy yourselves. Thank you all during the busy period." He made a speech. Everyone was having a lively time with drinks and food. After a while, Mr. Harwood said, "Everyone here is a brilliant employee with a high level of education. However, it seems there's one incompetent high school graduate. Well, he works hard and is earnest, though. Today, I'll give the incompetent guy a chance. Hey, incompetent guy, if you can solve this, I'll give you $2 million. He took something out of his bag and held it out to me. It was an extremely difficult mathematical problem. The room started to buzz. Eric said, "Mr. Harwood, is it really $2 million? Give me a chance too." "No way. This chance is for the incompetent high school graduate," Mr. Harwood said. The room buzzed again. My colleagues looked at the printed sheets of paper and tilted their heads. "This is impossible even for a college graduate. Mr. Harwood, this prank is going too far," they shouted. But when I saw the paper, I was surprised at how simple it was. But what should I do? Should I pretend I don't know? I was torn, but when I looked at Mr. Mitchell's face, he gave me a small nod, and I nodded back at Mr. Mitchell. I answered the difficult mathematical problem in 3 seconds, saying, "All right, I'll answer." Everyone buzzed even more. Mr. Harwood said, Hey, Ethan, this problem is difficult even for me, a Harvard graduate. Don't give her an answer," he said. I said, "No," I answered seriously. "So I'll really get the $2 million, right? I'm happy." Hey, Ethan, don't say irresponsible things. Answer again." So I answered again in 3 seconds. Then Mr. Harwood turned pale and said, "Hey, someone, check if it's correct." Eric, who always carried a computer with him, said to Mr. Harwood, "Mr. Harwood, I'm sitting next to Ethan, so I'll check." Eric opened his computer and started the program. Then he entered the formula. I answered Eric bit by bit without looking at the computer beside me. Then Eric shouted, "Mr. Harwood, Ethan's answer is perfect. Everything matches." "What?" Eric took the computer and went to Mr. Harwood. "There," I answered again in 3 seconds, looking at the printed paper. Then Mr. Harwood said, "Hey, who are you?" and turned pale again. "There." Mr. Mitchell patted me on the shoulder. I just gave Mr. Mitchell a small nod. Then Mr. Mitchell said, "Harwood, no one should know about Ethan Thompson's background. He just joined the company early, so you might have assumed he was a high school graduate. But Ethan graduated from Oxford University with summa cum laude, you know." "What? Oxford University? Summa cum laude?" Mr. Harwood finally broke out in a cold sweat. The employees gave me a round of applause. Then Mr. Mitchell said, "Harwood, the $2 million is from your pocket money, right?" "Well, I've been watching your attitude towards Ethan all this time. Of course, I knew about your background, Harwood. This isn't a company that values academic credentials like you do, you know. Until you got promoted here, everyone in the company was working more peacefully together. If you can't pay the $2 million you offered to Ethan, you'll be demoted to a regular employee at headquarters or transferred to an even more rural area." "Mr. Mitchell, anything but that. Please forgive me." Mr. Harwood said that and apologized deeply to Mr. Mitchell. Then Mr. Mitchell said, "Harwood, you're apologizing to the wrong person, aren't you? Ethan, I am truly sorry. I'm at your mercy. Please forgive me." I hurriedly said, "Mr. Harwood, please raise your head. I love this company." That's all there was to it. When I said that, Mr. Harwood turned to Mr. Mitchell again and said, "Mr. Mitchell, I have a wife and children. Please, anything but a transfer." "Harwood, is that so? Then you are demoted to a regular employee. Ethan, of course, has the talent to be a department head. As of today, I appoint Ethan as the department head," Mr. Mitchell declared. And I was pushed by the employees and guided to the seat of Mr. Harwood. No, Mr. Harwood's seat. "Harwood, switch seats with Ethan." Mr. Mitchell ordered. Mr. Harwood and I switched seats, and Mr. Mitchell said, "Today has turned into an emergency celebration of Ethan Thompson's promotion to department head. Everyone, please enjoy." When Mr. Mitchell said that, the employees gave me another round of applause. I was so embarrassed that my face turned bright red. Mr. Harwood, who was now sitting in my seat, hung his head and seemed unable to swallow his food. And with that, the day came to a close, and starting the next day, I began working as the new department head. Eric was very happy for me. When I called Olivia to tell her about it, she also congratulated me. After that, Mr. Harwood worked as a regular employee in the General Affairs Department, but his salary was reduced, and his wife apparently divorced him. I think it's punishment for looking down on people based on their academic background. 3 years later, I asked Olivia again, "Olivia, why don't we start living together soon?" "What? Really? Then we have to make a plan to have a dinner with our parents. I have one more request, though. I want to live in that rural area too. I love the countryside. Actually, I'm going to start working at my father's company, but my father is still young and active as the CEO, so he told me to handle the accounting remotely." "I see. Actually, you don't have to worry about our livelihood. I inherited a considerable amount of money from my grandmother, so please don't worry." I told Olivia that. After that, the dinner between our families went smoothly, and when we turned 27, we had our wedding ceremony in Hawaii, just the two of us, and we bought a spacious apartment in this area. Olivia, who had become my wife, apparently learned cooking from the home helper, and her meals are very delicious. It reminded me of my grandmother's cooking from long ago. Later, my wife gave birth to an adorable baby boy. I don't have to work overtime, and while helping with child care, my work as a department head is going well. The atmosphere at the company has returned to the calm it once had. Eventually, my wife's father asked me to take over his company. My wife shows me a happy smile every day in this peaceful place. In the future, Mr. Mitchell's son is set to take over the current company, so I can work with peace of mind while living happily with my adorable son and wife every day.